Let me show you how to use my Designs by Call Ajaire PDF patterns. Today I'm using the Morgana zip-up cover-up, but all of my patterns work the same way. The first thing you're going to do is open up Adobe Reader, and that's what you open this program in. So Adobe Acrobat Reader is a free program to download, and if you don't use that specific program to print, the sizing might be a little bit off, so it's important to use. They've recently done an update, so it can be a little confusing when you first come in. But these tools on the side, we're not going to use those, so I like to just X them out and not think about them. We are going to use the layers when we print though, and you can see there's nothing over here in the layers box. So what you'll do is you'll list layers for all pages. I like to do that right away so that there's no confusion. Here you'll see all the layers for all the different sizes, and we'll talk about that again in a minute. But one thing that's important to note about my patterns is that they are clickable. There are links kind of throughout that make it easier to navigate. This right here would take you to my website. The hashtags will take you to Instagram if you want to see different versions of things. It's not obvious when you first look at it because it's not underlined, but Acrobat will show you kind of where you're going if you hover over it. So we'll start at the table of contents. All of these pages are clickable. So if you're looking for blending sizes, you can go straight to page 6. Here's the blending sizes. It can be confusing at first because there's a lot of information in here, and you may not need every single piece. But if you're new to PDF patterns, it's helpful to kind of go through it real quick before you start sewing. We're going to go to the description, and you can see there's several views in this pattern. What you're going to do is decide which one you want to make first, and you're going to pick the view. Once you've picked the view, you can move on. Let's say we're going to do view B, which is the one with the dropped waist and one tier. You're going to look at your size chart. This sizing may be different than ready-to-wear sizing, so it's really important that you're looking at the chest, waist, and hip measurements on your child. For this pattern, really, chest and height are the more important measurements, but all of them, depending on the pattern, different measurements will be important. And I usually, in the choosing correct size section, will tell you which things you need for this specific pattern. But you're going to go by these numbers and what your child is for what to choose. These are the finished measurements, which depending on the pattern may be more or less given ease. So you can scroll in with Adobe Acrobat to make it bigger. It does come kind of tiny, but I do that so just to conserve some space because you can scroll in and out. All right, so then this is the blending sizes page again. It goes through exactly what to do if you're blending, if your child is in between sizes. There's recommended fabrics, additional materials. Those are pretty straightforward. And if this is technically a knit pattern, it's minimal stretch knit, so that's how we're able to use things like Cloud Cuddle, which don't have a ton of stretch in them, but just enough to get by. But it is a knit pattern, so I include my little spiel about how to sew with knits. Now printing, that can be confusing to people. There are layers, as I showed you before, so you don't have to print every single page in the document at the end. I have a printing guide here which shows you exactly for which view you're going to sew and which sizes you need, which pages to print out. You'll see it starts at page 34, and that's because it's at the end of this particular PDF, all the pages you'll need. This right here is the layout of all the pages at the end of this document, starting at page 34, and you'll see this 34, 35, 36, it kind of goes, let's see, I think that's 6 by 7 rows of 6 columns here. So what you'll do is you'll print out only the pages you need for the view that you're sewing, and then tape those pages together along the dark black lines, and you kind of line up this Designs by Call Ajaire symbol to do that. But this is a lot of pages. You really don't want to print out every single page with every single line on it, or you'll be very confused. It's possible, especially if you want to trace off and you're planning to do many sizes, but the beauty of PDF patterns is because it is printable on a whim. When your child changes sizes, you could just print whatever you're going to make that next time. So that's the general idea. Let me show you really quick how, if you're going to do size 6, view B, you would only choose these pages to print, which is 34 to 48, 52, and 53. You do then need to kind of go to the end and look at these columns because I do have the long sleeve and short sleeve separated, so you don't have to print both, and whether or not you're going to use pockets if you're doing view A or C, A through C, and we were doing B, so we would want to print that pocket. You would go over here and pick which sizes you need. Let's say your child is between a 10 and an 8 and you need to blend. You will only leave those eyeballs checked here, these little eyeballs next to the sizes. And then when you're printing out the pattern pieces, you would just go print here, and we would say print, let's see, size 6 was pages, and we would do 34 through 48, comma 52, comma 53. That was all we needed for the main part of 6. And then I want to do the short sleeve, so I would say 47. And actually, if you see there, 47 is included already by what was needed. There must be something else in that screen. So I would leave it just like that. And then the pocket was pages 54 and 55. So I'll add 54 and 55 on there. And those are the only pages I'm going to print. So I'm not printing hundreds and hundreds of pages. The important things here, and this is in the pattern on that printing section there, you want actual size and you want the orientation to be auto. And when you do that, everything should appear correct. My computer always takes a minute to kind of catch up to what it's doing here. But we want it to look like this, where it only has size 10 and size 8 highlighted. All the rest of those sizes have gone away, and so page by page we only have what we need to print. So we would print that, and then everything would be fine. We tape it all together. There's also fabric cutting that gives you all the information of what you'll need where, the requirements for your fabrics, which is really helpful if you haven't gone and shopped yet. You can figure out exactly how much you need for the size. There are cutting layouts which show you, for the fabric requirements that are listed, the best way to lay out your pattern pieces. There's a zipper chart because this pattern does have a zipper, and it gives you information about how to shorten a zipper if you don't have the exact right size. And then I always have a preparing the pieces section, which kind of helps you when you go to start sewing to have a few of these things done ahead of time. I like to kind of press, like do a memory fold press in my seams and things like that ahead of time. This is the start of the sewing instructions. And again, I just want to point out here that things are clickable. This back to the table of contents always will take you back here. Let me go back to where the sewing instructions were. So that's page 15. And then in this pattern, it's kind of, choose your own adventure. You're doing whatever size you're doing and you're going along. And then at some point you will hit a spot that says, oh, if you're doing view A, B, C with the pocket, you'll continue here. If you're doing A, B, C without the pocket, you're going to skip to step 23. And you can see here that the little finger point starts. And if you click that, it'll take you to step 23. Or at least it was supposed to. I'm not sure why that first one didn't. But so this one took you to step 36, which was that other one. So it does kind of skip you around if you click some of those links. So all these illustrations help when you're sewing. Really look at some of these sections. It'll have a note in italics, which kind of generally tells you why I'm having you do something a certain way, if there's any confusion. There's a glossary at the end if you don't know exactly which terms I'm using. And then I always have an inspiration gallery, which just shows you a few of the finished products. Here really quick, I'm going to show you, these are the actual printable pages. And you'll see that when you go from one to the other, it's a much bigger page. What I do with these pages for the tutorial is I actually save them in half size. So if for some reason you wanted to print out the tutorial, you're going to print out the tutorial pages. Let's say I just want to print pages 1 through 5. And I'm going to print those out. That I would actually do in 200% because they're half saved, so it would take up the whole page. You see how that got bigger? If I did the actual size, those particular pages are saved half size. It just makes the PDF a smaller size for you, so it's not taking over tons of space on your computer. And most people do read on their screen or on a tablet, so if you are printing, you're totally fine to do that, but you're going to want to do just the tutorial pages at 200%. that's pretty much it for what you need to know for all of my PDF patterns and how they're going to work.